there's a legal way of doing this. Republican governors interfering in that process and using migrants as political pawns is shameful.
The White House weighing in after some governors, including Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, sent migrants to other states.
Governor DeSantis sent 2 plane loads of undocumented migrants to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts yesterday. Today, the governor is now defending his actions.
In addition to Governor DeSantis, Texas and Arizona's governors have sent thousands of migrants and asylum seekers to New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C.
And here in South Florida today, immigration advocates protested Governor DeSantis' move. CBS 4's Ted Scouten was there and joins us with reaction as well as the governor's response. Ted.
Yeah, well, some of those immigrant right groups are denouncing Governor Ron DeSantis today. What they are saying is that they are calling his actions a blatant disregard for human life.
We take what's happening at the southern border very seriously, unlike some, and unlike the President of the United States, who has refused to lift a finger to secure that border.
Governor Ron DeSantis defending his action to send 2 plane loads of migrants to Martha's Vineyard. It's part of his immigrant relocation plan.
Our message to them is we are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
50 of those migrants are reportedly from Venezuela, and it has some Venezuelans here in South Florida fuming.
We are here today to tell Governor DeSantis that he has to stop. We demand him to stop using our pain, our suffering, and our desperation for his political gains.
At a news conference in Doral, activists called it cruel and repugnant from a power-hungry governor.
This is just the beginning. If we don't raise our voices and let them know that we are human beings, that immigrants are here to work, to have a life, looking for democracy, for democracy, for peace, for liberty, for stability for them and for their families.
The governor did not address the concerns that dozens of the migrants sent to Massachusetts are fleeing Venezuela. Last week, he said refugees would not be part of the relocation plan.
And if they're here illegally, then that's a much different thing than being a refugee. So it does not apply to refugees.
Venezuelans, immigrants find themselves running away from a brutal regime and find themselves at the mercy of another strong-armed man who is taking advantage of immigrants who don't know how to navigate our system.
An activist speaking to us today said they will remember this when they go to vote in November. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we will hear from a Democratic gubernatorial nominee, Charlie Crist. Live in Doral, Ted Scouten, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Ted. Our team coverage takes us now to Martha's Vineyard tonight. CBS 4's Christina Hager joins us now. Christina, what kind of reaction are you hearing from people who live on the island?
Yeah, the reaction here has been big. A big reaction from a small island and a small community that really lacks some of the infrastructure you'd see in a community closer to a big city. But we have seen people at this church where there are shelters set up. We've seen people hauling in bins of clothing, all kinds of food, and Spanish-speaking people offering to interpret. And that's in addition to the more official response from local police, local fire, local volunteer groups kind of banding together to offer what amounts to an emergency response.
Christina, we've heard a lot from our Governor DeSantis here in Florida, also from the governors of Arizona and Texas about this policy of just putting migrants on an airplane and flying them off to a place that they weren't expecting to go. What have we heard from the governor of Massachusetts about this?
Yeah, it's interesting because Governor Charlie Baker here in Massachusetts is also a Republican, but almost immediately the state's emergency response team was dispatched coming over on ferries. In fact, we saw one of those Massachusetts emergency response trucks on the ferry as we were coming here this morning. And today the governor announced that his administration is looking at possibly setting up temporary shelters at a big military base on the mainland on Cape Cod. That's the same military base where we once in this state housed refugees coming in from Hurricane Katrina back in 2005. So the message from the governor's administration has really been, hey, we want to help. Back to you.
It seems like a lot of people there want to help. Christina Hager, thank you very much for that live report from Martha's Vineyard.